Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. We come to you on the Monday of All-Star break. Everyone can take a deep breath. The Yankees, who have played 96 games, are 2 games back. Don't look now, but the Red Sox have won as many games as the Yankees. They've played one more, but they've won 10 games in a row, which makes for fun in the second half of the season. The Mets have played 97 games. They're a half game out, one in the loss column, but they did see good signs from Sanger and good signs from Mania, even though they couldn't complete the sweep in Kansas City. Hey, we'll get to the baseball. Remember, Home Run Derby, All-Star Game. If you want to see Skubal and Skeens, you know what? 2 very talented pitchers. Go ahead. I went to the movies last night. Okay. Harrison likes me. Like me, loves movies. Now, he even likes them more than me. I could even see him working in the movies one day because he really is like big into the technical stuff. He wanted to see F1. I can't stand car stuff. I went and saw it. You know what? It wasn't bad. And Brad Pitt's in a heck of a shape for 61 years old. Wasn't a bad movie. And I don't like car racing. All right. Now, I went to Superman. I'm not your classic Superman audience in terms of Marvel, superheroes, that kind of stuff. If you follow me, you know I like movies, okay? Well written. Boy gets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. Good triumphs over evil. I like a well written movie. I like a human story. I mean, you can give me any mobster movie. You can give me any Western. Shane is one of my all time favorites. The Godfather's the best movie ever made. I like Gone with the Wind. I like Casablanca. Okay. Good Will Hunting was a tremendous movie. I'll give you a recent movie that was good. A Complete Unknown was a tremendous movie. It's one of the best movies I've seen in years and years. I love the performances in that movie. I love that movie. I give that movie a 10. I loved it. Now, odds were in this Superman craze, and you go, and it's one of the few times you go to the theaters now and the theaters are alive. You're not there by yourself. There's actually people in the theaters. They're showing Superman on like 5 different things. So you go to one of these movies now that has reclining seats. You know, people bring blankets. They have pillows. You know, they're getting full course meals delivered to their seats. You know, it's not like the old days. And you got Dolby sound and special effects and all this different stuff to dress up the movie. You better dress it up because you know what? When you're going to present the kind of stuff that I saw last night, you better dress it up and really dress it up because it was awful. It wasn't bad. It was awful. Now, remember, I grew up on Superman. And to be fair, I'm not their core audience. I don't like sci-fi. If it's got spaceships, I'm out. If it's about outer space, I'm out. If it's got robots, I'm out. If you're chopping people up, I'm out. Okay. I am particular about what I like. And I'm not a sci-fi guy at all. I don't like superheroes. I've never read a comic book in my life. I read one. Okay. I liked this girl when I was in 6th grade, and she liked Archie and Veronica comics, Archie and Betty, Archie and Veronica. You know, remember that whole thing? Jughead, that whole thing. I read one of those ones. That's the only comic book I ever read in my life. I never had a comic book. I was reading the box scores in the Daily News since I was in 2nd grade. Okay, that was what I read. I used to get off the bus, get the newspaper in the morning. Newsday was an afternoon paper in those days. I used to get the newspaper in the morning, the Daily News, and read it in school. When I was as far back as I can remember, the nuns used to tell me to put it away. So, I mean, that was me, okay? So I was not your core audience here, but I did always like Superman. And yes, when I was working at the fan, people said, you know, they sent me things that I looked like George Reeves when my hair was different color. You know, I didn't see George Reeves when his hair was a different color, but we had the same kind of face, you know, a little bit. And George Reeves was a good Superman. I grew up on the TV show like so many millions of Americans. Now, if you were a kid in the 60s, remember, Superman was a hit show. Reeves ruined Reeves' career because Reeves wanted to be a serious actor. You know, he was in Gone with the Wind, as a matter of fact. He was actually in the opening scene he was at 12 Oaks, he was actually trying to court Scarlett O'Hara in the movie. Now, it got so much that his popularity as Superman actually got him cut out of movies because when they test the movie, the people in the seats, when the producers and directors were looking for reactions, they would start yelling Superman, hey, faster than the speeding bullet, blah, because they recognized him as Superman. Just like you would recognize Gandolfini as Tony Soprano or Carol O'Connor as Archie Bunker. Everyone recognized George Reeves as Superman. Now, when I was a kid, okay, Superman was in reruns. It was a show that was a hit, big hit in the 50s. Okay, it was a show that ran from 52, I think, to 58, if I remember right. It was a core 50s show. So when I'm seeing it in the 60s, we used to get hit with the reruns, Rifleman reruns. Great Western. I love Rifleman. Wanted Dead or Alive. Okay, Richard Boone as Paladin. Steve McQueen. Think about it. Steve McQueen doing a weekly TV series. Wanted Dead or Alive. Paladin, Have Gun Will Travel. Richard Boone. Superman, Little Rascals, Three Stooges, who I never loved. I was not a crazy Officer Joe Bolton, Three Stooges, Channel 11. I was not a crazy Three Stooges fan. They were not my thing. Loved the Rifleman. Loved Superman back in those days. And it was on like every day and on Saturday morning. So you'd see all these reruns and you knew the shows because you'd see them over and over again. They probably had about 150 in the can. I don't know exact number that they had. Somebody out there can figure that out. But you'd see it over and over again. But it was always the same. Lois would be out. In those days, they didn't have any real. Lois might have had a crush on Superman, but they didn't make a big deal about that. You had Perry White, the editor of the paper, going Great Caesar's Ghost. You had Jimmy Olsen with his little camera. And you had Lois getting in trouble and then Superman bailing them all out. Okay? Taking bullets off his chest, bending steel. The whole deal. Okay? That was Superman. That was the Superman I remember from those days. And that's the Superman a lot of us grew up on. Now, we've really never gotten him, that Superman captured in the movies. Okay? Never. Even the Christopher Reeve, who was a good Superman. He was handsome, played him tongue-in-cheek. He was big and strong and good-looking and handsome, the whole thing. Movies made a fortune. I'm going back to 78, that movie, which Mario Puzo, they had as a screenplay credit because he was hotter than hot after the Godfather. You had Marlon Brando in the movie to sell it as his father on the planet Krypton, Jor-El. You had Glenn Ford as his earthly father. You had Jackie Cooper as Perry White. You had Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. You had Gene Hackman, Valerie Perrine, Ned Beatty. I mean, these are big actors in this movie. I mean, that's a star-studded movie. It wasn't a bad movie, but, it was very campy, cartoonish, tongue-in-cheek. It was Lois, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane getting courted around by Superman in the air and, can you read my mind? That kind of thing. It was okay. You could watch it. It was watchable. It wasn't great. You weren't going to rave about it, but it was watchable. But I go back to the days of, I still remember. I can remember, the whole thing, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, a strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend steel in his bare hands, and who disguised as Clark Kent, a mild-mannered reporter from a great metropolitan newspaper, fights the never-ending battle for truth, for justice, and the American way. That was Superman. My favorite episode ever was they were in a locked room, and all the regulars, the particulars, Lois is in there, Jimmy's in there, Perry White's in there. They're all tied to chairs. Clark Kent's in there. And the door is cement thick and they can't get out. And there's deadly gas leaking and you can see it leaking. And Superman and Clark Kent, who has always held tight to the disguise, says, well, I guess there's no use keeping this a secret any longer. And he jumps up and he takes off his ropes and he becomes Superman in front of their very eyes. And they're like, I knew it. He's Superman. Oh my God. And then at the end, he hopes that he can reverse the gases by blowing air into the room and change their mind and they forget the whole thing, which is what they did for the next episode. But that was one of the, loses the Superman identity, which was always a big part of this. There were two things. There was him overcoming evil, bullets, bank robbers, guys who wanted to blow things up. And there was keeping the disguise as the mild-mannered, meek, milquetoast Clark Kent. Keeping his identity secret. That was big, always big. Now, I go to this movie last night. They're making, I read the reviews for some reason. The reviews were raving. I'm like, wow, this must be pretty good. Plus, I like Rachel Brosnahan because she was Amazing Mrs. Maisel. Now, if you watch that show, which is a very different show, but when the Amazing Mrs. Maisel hit its high notes, when they were depicting Lenny Bruce, or some of the episodes were utterly brilliant television. Brilliant. There was some years where the stuff really was bad, where they really jumped the shark. But most times the show was good and she was great. She won multiple Emmys and she was a surprising pick for Lois Lane. But I'm like, okay, she could play Lois Lane. What the heck? She didn't do a bad job as Lois Lane, but the movie is ridiculous. First of all, forget the political innuendos, and they're about as subtle as a jackhammer in the movie, but that's today's Hollywood. That's the climate we live in. Everybody's got to make a political statement. Okay, forget that part. You can read that in the reviews. I don't care about that. I'm not getting into that. What I'm getting into is this stunk as for someone who's a old-time TV show Superman guy trying to get entertained for a couple hours and wants to see Superman. This movie was pure torture to sit through. Torture. I'll tell you this. If my name was on the credits, I'd hide it. That's how bad it was. This was 2 hours of this new Superman. It was he wasn't Christopher Reeve, but he was okay Superman. 2 hours of him getting the crap beat out of him. Who wants to see Superman get beat up for 2 hours? He's getting beat up by everybody. Plus, you have other superheroes in the movie. I didn't go there to see some guy named Mr. Terrific. I didn't go there to see the Green Lantern or some lady named Hawk something or other. I don't even know who she was. Okay, these other superheroes who he calls on. Who needs other superheroes? This is a Superman movie. You want to see Superman flirt with Lois Lane, keep his disguise, and battle crime. That's what you want to see. And good triumph over evil. That's Superman. A little tongue-in-cheek, a little cartoonish, a little campy. Okay, this was unmitigated garbage. First of all, early on, there's robots. I don't want robots. Okay, I don't want robots taking care of Superman. I don't. Then there's a super dog. Who came up with a super dog? We all like dogs, okay? And I didn't like the dog getting beat on in the movie. It bothered me. But hey, who came up with a dog with a cape? When did that arrive? I watched Superman for years on television. I never saw a dog with a cape. I never saw robots. And in this movie, Superman's in trouble. Lex Luthor's getting the best of him. Everybody in the movie is beating the heck out of him. I thought Jimmy Olsen was going to take a shot at him. I thought Lois Lane was going to throw him out a window. He got beat up by everybody. He got the absolute bejesus. If you want to go see Superman get beat up for 2 hours, he got beat up for 2 hours. This is Superman. And this had nothing to do with Superman. It had to do with superheroes. It had to do with a war in the Middle East. It had to do with a crazy Lex Luthor. And in the end, Lois Lane is trying to save him by going into the inner earth and a different layer of being with Mr. Terrific, whoever the hell he is. And she is driving a spaceship off the Daily Planet. Now, wait a second. Lois Lane's supposed to be falling off a building and being caught by Superman. This is not made for Lois Lane to be driving a spaceship to save Superman. I'm like, what the heck am I watching here? The dog was a bigger hero than Superman was. Lois Lane was a much bigger hero. And Jimmy Olsen, who used to be an 18-year-old cub reporter with a brownie camera, he's basically dissing supermodels every weekend. And, and has babes galore and is basically stealing the movie. Jimmy Olsen. And there are scenes, I'm telling you, Superman's in trouble. So what you have is Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, and Lois Lane going to the roof of the Daily Planet and getting in a spaceship and taking off to save Superman. I mean, give me a break. I'd had enough right there. You got a super girl cousin who shows up in a cape and she's stoned, okay, late in the movie. So they're setting her up for another movie. Look for some girl super movie coming up, and they basically alluded to the fact that she's always getting high. Okay. You got the dog who, like I said, is one of the big heroes in this movie. This movie is so bad that if you ask me to go sit through it again, I would want major, major cash before I could do it. Okay. It was pure torture. It was 2 hours of pain. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And it had nothing, not at least the movies. And listen, I know the Superman movies weren't great. They made a bundle. Okay. Superman is always going to make money. He's one of the great, great iconic figures in American entertainment. It's a cash cow. He's always going to make money. You could put him anywhere. You can do Smallville. You can do Lois and Clark. You can make awful stuff, and you put Superman in it, and they're gonna go watch it. And this got pumped to the moon. But when I tell you this thing was bad, I'm telling you, really, I was thinking about inflicting pain to myself just to keep myself awake. That's how bad it was. This movie was dreadful. And I have seen people glowing in their reviews, and I'm saying, what are you watching? How can this possibly? You got monsters in the movie. You got robots in the movie. You got other superheroes in the movie. You got a damn dog with a cape on. What are you talking about? You got Lois Lane driving a spaceship. What the hell does that have to do with Superman? Superman was, Lois gets in trouble investigating a story. She winks at Superman a couple of times. You got the innuendo that they like to, have a little extended relationship. That's fine. That's all tongue in cheek. It was tongue in cheek in the movies back in the 70s. Fine. Okay. A little campy, a little cartoonish. This was a disaster. Before you get into all the Middle East innuendos, all right, you got people claiming it's anti-Semitic. I mean, hey, I'm not getting into the political ramifications of it. Are there political ramifications and innuendos? Yes. Forget that. This is just awful. I mean, I actually think the people who wrote this must have been on some kind of hallucinogen before they decided that this was a wrap and this was what they were going to go with. The creative consultants and the writers in this thing must have all been absolutely rocked before they made this thing. That's how bad it was. I can't tell you. Even Harrison, who loves all this stuff, who goes to every Marvel movie there is, goes to every superhero, goes to every Fast and Furious, goes to every one of these awful movies that I can't stand. I've been going to movies with him since he was 2 years old. I used to go with Jack and Emily and Harrison. What I used to do was take them all to the movies to give their mother a break, okay? I'd get them whatever they wanted, their popcorn or whatever they wanted. They would sit inside me. I'd sit on the aisle seat, put my feet up. There'd be hardly anybody in the theater. And I'd go to sleep for 2 hours while they watched the movie, whatever it was. Whatever crazy, superhero or comic book hero or whatever it was. Who cares? Or any one of those wacky movies we saw through the years. The bottom line is this is terrible, and I cannot understand anybody thinking this was a good movie. In any way, it was awful. I'm not even gonna debate with someone who liked this, but I admit, I'm not a sci-fi guy, okay? And the movies that some people will reference in terms of comparing it to, I probably haven't seen because I don't go to the movies if it's a sci-fi movie. But this was a bad sci-fi movie and an insult to the Superman tradition, to the Superman legend. As someone who used to watch him on Channel 11 on Saturday morning, this was an affront to my senses. Now, we've reached the All-Star break. All right. There's some good, some bad. Did the Yankees look good against the Cubs? Well, typical Yankees. See, everyone looks at the Yankee statistics and says, oh, they lead the league in home runs. They lead the league in OPS. They lead the league. Yeah, because they do the same thing all the time. They bludgeon the backside of your bullpen. They get a lead, like on Friday night. They get a lead. And what do? They turn 5-0 or 6-0 into 11-0. That's great. Look how many times this year they've won the game scoring in double digits. All they do is pad their stats. Then the next 2 days, they can't buy on Saturday. They lose 5-2 because Judge had a couple of doubles and a homer. Otherwise, they don't score. And yesterday, they sent 28 batters to the plate and got 2 hits. I'll tell you this right now. The Cubs are better than they are. The Cubs are a better team. No question. They are a better balanced, more athletic, better team. Hands down. Now, I don't know if the Cubs are going to battle the Dodgers, who've been struggling lately. They did win the back couple of games against the Giants. And the Dodgers will be there, especially if their pitching gets healthy or if they make the moves they have to make. But this Yankee team has got major problems. And I know everyone is now in love. Just put Dominguez up first and let him play every day. Well, let me ask you this, if you're going to let him play every day. Now, do I admit that he has hit well from the left side of late, the last month or so? Absolutely. He has shown a lot of consistency there. He can run. We know he can hit from the left side. What are you going to do about the fact that he cannot hit from the right side? He has shown no inclination that he's going to hit from the right side, and he still has days like yesterday where he blew a fly ball he's got to catch. What happens when that happens with the bases loaded and 2 out in the 5th inning of a big game, and he blows that fly ball? That fly ball's got to be caught. There is still a lot of work to do with him. He only hits from one side of the plate. So how is he going to play every day? And number two, he still doesn't field well enough to play every day. He's a DH, except you need Stanton because Stanton can run into it, as he has 4 times in his last 9 games, run into home runs and had big home runs like he did in the comeback win against Seattle. That was about as big a hit as the Yankees have had this year. His hit in the 8th and Wells' hit in the 9th were 2 of the biggest hits they've had this year. That was a big win. This week's a different week if they lose that game, which they were getting no hit for 7 innings. And they lose that game to Seattle, and this is a different week. As it is, it wasn't good that they lost the last 2 games to the Cubs. Now, I turn on the radio, and I don't want to say, because I'm not going to knock any of the, the talk show hosts, because that's not good for them. I mean, we get a lot of publicity, and it's, I would not do that. But here's the point. When you're going to analyze going to the trade deadline, and here's what the Yankees need, and you know what? Let me give you my opinion what the Yankees need. Hey, they need bullpen help. Oh, really? Earth to announcer. There is not a team that is challenging for the playoffs or in first place that would not think they needed an upgrade to their bullpen. The idea that the Yankees or the Mets or the Phillies or any of these teams are going to add 2 real prominent relievers is nuts. First of all, there's probably only 3 or 4 relievers out there worth a damn. Every team wants the same relievers. Every one of them. And a lot of them have better minor league systems and better prospects than the Yankees do. I mean, the Mets have better prospects. The Tigers have better prospects. The Dodgers have better prospects, supposedly, and a couple other teams probably do. I know they say the Tigers have wonderful ones and the Mets have really good ones. Well, the bottom line is, I don't know which ones you're going to keep, which ones you're going to give up. That's the decision you make. So when you give up a Crow Armstrong, it comes back to bite you. You don't want to do that too often. Okay? Yankees need a third baseman. We know that. Mets need a center fielder. We know that. They both could use another starting pitcher. It looks like Heel might come back. When Heel comes back and he's thrown 2 or 3 games in the rotation, then he's back. He's not back because he's knocking down some minor leaguer somewhere. He's back when he's back when he can stay in the rotation, give you back-to-back games where he's thrown 100 pitches, then he's back. And he's a long way from that right now. Now, maybe that's going to happen. And the same is true of Senga, and the same is true of Mania. You saw things. Hey, we all know these guys can all pitch. The question is, can they stay healthy? The first thing on all these teams' list is pitching. And the top of the line for all of them is impact relievers, which are going to come at such a heavy price tag over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be fascinating to see which teams could outduel the other teams for the couple of coveted relievers that are worth trading for. You're not looking to reclamate guys right now. You're not looking to take a chance on guys right now or see a guy who was good 2 years ago who's having a terrible year and I'll fix him. You're not fixing them in your pennant race. You've only got 60 games left as it is. It's going to come fast and furious. You're going to be in October before you know it. Getting to October is not that hard right now. If you got a decent team, you're going to get to October. The question is what you can do in October. And I know at the All-Star break here, you're going to hear all these declarations that, Skeens is going to be traded. I can't see Pittsburgh doing that because the hit from a public relations standpoint would be so dramatic, and you'd be bringing back prospects, yes, that you believe in, but they're still untested right now, so they're not Skeens. What you've done is show that you don't ever intend to compete. If you trade a guy at this stage of his career who's that good, you're basically saying, hey, we were fortunate enough to draft at the top of the draft, and we drafted a great generational pitcher. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to deal him off to a good team. Why am I going to the ballpark in Pittsburgh if that's the case? Yes, I'm going to see the other teams, but how often am I going to do that? I'll stay home and watch them on TV. I don't think you can sell that. So do I think they will trade Acuna? No. Do I think they will trade Skeens? I don't. Do I think they will deal secondary and tertiary starters? Absolutely, all night. Do I think you might be able to pry away a good player off a team? Absolutely. But you're going to pay through the nose for him, even for a rental. And for the bullpen help, you are going to pay mightily. And if you want a Lugo, I don't think DeGrom, again, I don't think DeGrom will be traded. If you want a Lugo, it's going to cost you. If you want one of the Pittsburgh starters other than Skeens who can pitch, it's going to cost you. If you want a guy that has quality, it's going to cost you. If you want to get Mullins from the Orioles, it's not going to cost you anything. You want to get McMahon from the Rockies, it's not going to cost you anything. Suarez is going to cost you something even for a rental, and I wouldn't get him. Personally, I wouldn't get him. See, I know the Yankees' numbers before this weekend had been good against lefties, but I think the Yankees are more dangerous against righties because, first of all, the righties, other than Goldschmidt, will hit righties. Stanton will hit righties. Judge hits everybody. And you got a lot of left-handed bats that wake up. The other thing I would do, and I've said this and I've called for it, and it hasn't happened, and I think it needs to happen. Give Rice a chance in a platoon with Goldschmidt. I know you don't want to do this to Goldschmidt, who's a leader on the team, who's a good professional, who doesn't want that to happen, who's a terrific glove. You can bring him in for defensive purposes. You can bring him in when they go lefty in the sixth inning. You can bring Goldschmidt in. Platoon Rice and Goldschmidt, because Goldschmidt's been killing you now for a long time. He hits lefties, doesn't hit righties. Let Rice have a chance to play. He's not going to DH because you got Stanton in there blocking that, and they're going to play Stanton. They're not going to give up on Stanton because Stanton's going to be in the lineup every day in the postseason. And everybody wants to get rid of Grisham. Don't be so quick to get rid of Grisham and think you're going to play Dominguez every day out there, because Dominguez has still got problems he has to reconcile before he's ready to be an everyday outfielder and make that a full-fledged outfield of Judge, Bellinger, and Dominguez. He doesn't hit lefties, and he still doesn't feel well enough. Love Bellinger. Thought he was a great signing. I think he's perfect for Yankee Stadium, and he's a pro. And I think he's going to be a big player the rest of the way. I told you that a month ago, and he's been great since then. And I think he's going to be terrific the rest of the season, into the postseason. I think he's a pro, and I think he's a big-time talent. He can do everything. He can field. He can hit. He can hit with power. He hits lefties. He does everything. I love Bellinger. Volpe's an issue. He's an issue. Peraza's got to go. Listen, I know Peraza catches everything. He can't hit water with a bat. If you put him in the ocean, he couldn't hit the water. I'm telling you, that's how bad it is. He's an automatic. I mean, there are automatic outs in this Peraza. He is an automatic out. That guy's hitting. If you look over his last 10 games, his last 20 games, his last 30 games, he's hitting 110, 120 the whole time. He cannot be anything but a utility player. I'm sorry. You can put him at short and give Volpe a day off because Volpe's not doing a great job anyway. But Volpe has RBIs. I know he's had a million RBI opportunities, but he's still got RBIs. What I worry about with Volpe is he's gotten into some really bad habits at shortstop, including, hey, you cannot it's the first thing you learn as a little leaguer in infield. Don't let the ball play you. He lets the ball play him all the time. Yankees don't correct these habits with these guys. He's gone downhill as a player. Chisholm's a talent. Now, he's a free swinger. He'll strike out a lot in big spots, but he's also going to crush a lot of games. There's no question about it. I got no problem with him. Is he a little bit of feast or famine player? Yes, but I'm okay with that. They have to get a third baseman. I want them to get McMahon because he's got a Yankee Stadium swing. You can get him for nothing. He can field, and he's still on the other side, south side of 30, and he will be incredibly rejuvenated to be thrust from the worst franchise just about in baseball to the Yankees and Yankee Stadium and 45,000 people every day, and it will be like he went to heaven. I'd like to see that. I know I'm in the minority, but I'd like to see that. That's the guy I want. Now, like I said, the crafty part of this for all these executives is going to be how they outmaneuver each other for the relievers that are available. There's going to be insane competition and incredible demand for the relievers, more so than we've ever seen. And that's going to be fun to watch. And then on top of this, the fact that the Red Sox have won 10 games in a row and moved within a game of the Yankees makes this a lot of fun. It really does. I mean, it's always better when the Red Sox are in the mix. Just makes it spicier. And now they've won 10 games in a row. Hey, the All-Star break comes very late. You've played almost 100 games. Teams have played 98, 99, 96. There's 2 months of baseball left, in essence. For 60 games worth of baseball left in the regular season. Still a little more than a third of the season to play. And it's a time to refine and get ready for the run. It's going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks coming off the All-Star game. And I have to admit, from around, I would check out the Home Run Derby, and I will watch those guys pitch the first innings tomorrow night because they are two very, very special talents, Skubal and Skeens. So I would watch that. I was at the stadium the night. I was at Citi Field the night Harvey pitched in the All-Star game, and that was exciting. It really was. It was one of those rare moments when it was really exciting. So I'll watch these guys pitch tomorrow night. Because you have some really exciting pitches on those staffs. A couple of really good ones. So check it out. We'll see you later. Oh. Wait. It's open. Now, since we'll come back, and when we do the Wednesday show, we'll give you a British Open predictions and everything else, the fourth major coming up. And we have a special pre-tournament British Open boost for you. So here you go. BetRivers is offering a 30% profit boost for the Open Championship. Opt in and get a 30% profit boost on any pre-tournament wager on the British Open. See the BetRivers app for full details on this offer. What I like about this is I get up real early. A lot of times I play golf at 8 in the morning at this time of year because it gets too hot in the afternoon. So, but when you can wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock and there's golf on, it's fun. And this week there is on Thursday, on Friday. Of course, Scotty Scheffler is the favorite at 5-1. Rory's 6.5-1. Rahm is next. Rahm's dangerous. I have it in my head that off the disaster that we watched with Fleetwood when he took the wrong club, decided to go with the wedge instead of the 9 and left the putt 70 feet short and blew the tournament to Keegan Bradley. I've thought, you know what? Maybe this is going to be his moment at the British Open. He's a very popular player with the people over there. He's also very popular with the players. I would hope he would have a big tournament because I've been looking for him to bounce back. So watch Fleetwood at like 25-1. Mike Francesa newsletter. If you're interested in that, go to the MikeFrancesa'Podcast.com and enter your email to sign up for the Mike Francesa Podcast newsletter. It doesn't cost you anything. Get content that we do just for the newsletter and different things we do. Just all you got to do is sign up for it by leaving your email with MikeFrancesa'Podcast.com for the newsletter. So check that out. And remember, British Open Thursday. Put your bets in by Wednesday night because it starts at like 3 a.m. New York time. Well, 4 a.m. New York time. So you wake up Thursday morning, it's too late for overall tournament bets. You know what bet I like? Here's a couple of things I like. They have categories like highest finishing American, highest finishing, Australian, highest finishing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get some good value in there. And I also like the head-to-head matchups. This guy. I especially like that after they've played Thursday because they come at it in different ways then. And which guy's struggling and which guy's pressing and which guy had a good round. And I like those matchups. And sometimes there's some interesting value in there too. So I like to look at those two things, not just the overall winner. But overall winner, I'm looking at Rahm, who I think's ready to pop a good one. And I'm looking at Fleetwood at like 25-30-1. We'll see you later.